Start at the bottom of this UFC 148 prelim card, and it's just stacked, man. You might have to help me with this guy's name, but Cuba. Not sure how you pronounce his name.
And I'm really bad with butchering some of these guys'
Right.
names, so I got to apologize. But I think it's Yoslandi Izquierdo, but I could be wrong.
And he's going to take on Rafael Oliveira. Just talk about this fight a little bit. Seeing the odds at minus 170 for him.
Yep, the odds are actually minus 170. That's where I opened them in. The comeback on Oliveira is plus 140. So it's going to be an interesting fight. You have a guy, obviously, in Oliveira that's going to want to take this fight to the floor and utilize his grappling and BJJ, which is pretty strong. I mean, Oliveira definitely has maybe a little bit of underrated wrestling, and once he gets the fight to the floor, I mean, he's a ground whiz. He's going to be very dangerous, but I think it's a difficult matchup for him here. I think Yoslandi, I know he got submitted his last time out against Reza, but he did have a great first round. It was his octagon debut. It was on enemy turf there, so I think there was a lot of nerves, and he just got caught. I think he's a little bit better than what we've seen, and if he didn't get caught in that fight, I think he was on his way to win that fight. So there's a lot of potential in this kid, and the matchup is here. Oliveira on 2 fights losing streak, and there was 2 losses were pretty bad. I mean, they were both stoppages, even against Gleason Tabu. Tibau, I should say. I'm sorry, butchering another name here, but even against Tibau, he got rocked before he got submitted, and then obviously in his last fight against Eves, he got knocked out. So, not a good fight for him to come back and bounce back against somebody like Yoslandi, because that is definitely the area that he can dominate this fight at, standing up. He's going to have a reach advantage on the feet, and he's just more dangerous on the feet overall. He uses angles pretty good. He's very accurate when it comes to his striking. So I think even if Yoslandi has trouble keeping off his back, eventually he's going to catch Rafael and probably end this fight. So it is a competitive fight, but I have to favor Yoslandi, the Cuban, or Cuba, I should say, in this fight.
Hey, let's just move up the card a little bit, and here's a few names we shouldn't butcher because they've been around in MMA for a long time here. John Alicio, Shane Roller.
Yeah, Alessio and Roller, that's going to be a good matchup. And, man, 2 guys that desperately need a win here. I know Alessio just recently got brought back to the UFC. He had a difficult matchup in Mark Bocek, so never an easy out. But here's another one, though. Roller coming off of, I believe, a 3-fight losing streak here, and he desperately needs a win. And I think it's a difficult matchup for Alessio. These guys have a lot of similarities, but I think that ultimately Roller's wrestling foundation and his ability to dictate where this fight goes. I think his wrestling, even though Alessio has decent wrestling himself, I mean, it might neutralize each other out a little bit. I think Rollers is that much better, and he should be able to do enough here to probably steal a decision. It's going to be hard for these guys to stop each other. If there is a stoppage, again, I would probably favor Roller here. I think he's got enough power maybe to stop it on the feet. But other than that, it's going to be a competitive battle. But I do favor Shane Roller in this fight. That's why you're seeing him around 2-1, minus 215 right now.
Yeah, minus 215 is the number I got on here. We had Alicio on the show about a week back. We did a Skype interview with him, and he was almost trying to suck Roller into a stand-up war, I think. I don't think he wants anything to do with this ground game.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are pretty well-rounded when it comes to the ground. On the feet, Alessio's striking might be a little bit better, but I think Roller's striking is more effective and more dangerous. So, I think I've noticed a lot of improvements in Alessio's stand-up game, but it's not quite there yet. And I don't think it's going to be enough to phase Roller bad enough to cause him that many difficulties. So I think Roller's going to have the knockout power, and it's going to be a difficult fight. A fight that is, you have to be kind of cautious when betting, but I think under 2-1, Roller's may be worth a play here. But again, both guys desperately need a win, especially Shane Roller in this point.
Okay, man, so we have 3 other fights listed here on the prelim cards. Just talk about any of the fights that really stand out to you as potential upsets.
Well, these fights are all going to be relatively competitive, I think. Starting, I guess, from the top, the main event of the undercard, if you will, Gleason versus Habib. Now, here's another name, Nurmagomedov. So that's going to be an interesting fight. Before I started making the line on this fight, I really liked Habib's chances in this fight. I thought maybe, his ability overall to wrestle, to throw combinations on the feet might cause Gleason some problems here. But you know what? After my research, he's just so raw still. I mean, the kid definitely has potential, but at this stage in their career, I think Gleason's kind of a bad matchup for him. Khabib's strike defense is pretty bad. I mean, we see him kind of backpedaling with his chin up. His hands are wide, and I think that's going to cause some problems. Even though Gleason's not one that you kind of fear on the feet, I think he does have a good left hook. He does have some power, but he's not one guy that's really a scary striker. So this is an interesting matchup, but again, Khabib's best chance in this fight is probably getting it to the floor, and it's going to be a hard task for Gleason, to take Gleason down and could probably control him. This is where I would stay away as far as a bet goes, because Gleason's always in those tough fights that always seem competitive here. I do favor him to win this fight, but it's a hard fight to bet, because even if he does win the fight with the judges' scorecards, it just seems like he's always in competitive decisions. So one to be cautious for, and if Khabib does end up pulling off the upset here, the slight upset, then he's definitely going to be on the map in the lightweight division.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Melvin Guillard. He's probably the biggest favorite on the prelim board.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, this is another spot before I started doing my homework on this fight. I liked Fabricio's chances in this fight of maybe pulling off the upset. And then after doing the research, I think he's going to have a difficult time getting Melvin down, and Melvin's just going to eat him apart on the feet. And I know, again, another guy that's improving his overall game, because Fabricio has the ground game. He's got the jiu-jitsu edge in this fight. That's what scares me. This is another fight you have to stay away from, though. I think that Melvin's good enough to probably finish this fight, even though Fabricio, we have to say this, man, he's hard to finish. I mean, he's a tough guy. He's not an easy guy to put out for sure. But I think that Melvin could pick him apart enough on the feet to maybe possibly get a round 2 or round 3 late stoppage. But again, Fabricio's ground game is so dangerous, and that seems to be Melvin's kryptonite. And I don't know how much he's improved in that area. We've seen when he was with Jackson's, he went on a little roll there. Now he pulled out, and he's with the Black Zillion camp. I'm not sure if that was a great move. I think that for some fighters, getting a new perspective or fresh look is a good idea. But for Melvin, I think he found success where he was at Jackson's camp. And since he left, that worries me a little bit too. So Melvin's the rightful favorite. He's 3-1 favorite. He should win this fight. But again, his fight IQ and his ability to just kind of hold people away from his back and scrambles, it worries me a little bit. So Fabricio could get the sub, but I don't think so. I think Melvin does find a way to win, and he needs this win bad as well. He goes from title contender to possibly being cut if he loses this fight. So, a must-win, I think, for Guillard, and I think he's going to come through.